Hello, and thank you for joining us for Being Productive and Staying Connected While Working at Home. My name is Charlette Williams. I'm a senior professional human resources practitioner and owner of Charlette Williams Coaching and Consulting. We specialize in organizational development and executive leadership, career and life coaching, as well as a senior partner in the Real Estate Academy for Learning. I am going to now have my colleague, Heather Lynn Darby, introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Heather Lynn Darby, head coach at Excellent Nutrition and Fitness, an online coaching practice that helps desk workers disrupt the cycle of chronic stress and recover from sitting.
This afternoon, we're going to be talking about ways to stay productive and connected to your team while we're working at home. And so this is going to be, we hope, beneficial for people who are working at home now during the work environment disruption, as well as those people who work at home remotely all the time. Things we're going to cover today are around getting started with working at home and setting yourself up for success, managing to stay productive all day, staying connected with your team, and taking care of yourself. And then Heather is going to go over some tips about how to stay healthy while you're working at home. We'll get started with Module 1, setting yourself up for success. So whether you're working at home for just a limited time, or if you're going to be working at home all the time, it is going to be important that you set yourself up to be successful. And what that looks like is first creating a space that you'll use while you're working at home. Now, ideally, the space is going to be one that will have a door, and you can go in and like close off your work environment while you're working, and then in the evening when you're done with working, so that you can keep the balance between working at home and being at home while you're at home. Things that are going to be really helpful while you're doing this is going to be sure you have a comfortable chair and desk area. That space should be one that's designated for your work at home for the entire time you're working at home. If you're going to be changing your desk and your work location from day to day, then things might happen like you might lose your connectivity to your internet service, and you might lose time going back and forth looking for things in one location to move them to the other. In addition to that, you want to really be able to designate an at-home workspace so that the people who you live with, your kids, your significant others, and other people in your environment understand that when you're in that space, you are going to be working, okay? To get started again, things you want to think about is having a designated desk or work surface. Heather's going to talk in the next segment about what that space should look like and how you can stay healthy with that. But one thing I want to talk about is having a chair that's going to be comfortable for you to work in for the entire day. And even if you have to go out and purchase a chair, which might be hard to do right now, it would be really well worth it. Because if you're not comfortable, there's no way that you're going to be productive. Second thing you want to think about is ensuring that your computer and internet service is set up and configured properly. You'll also need to make sure that you have access to your company's cloud, network, intranet, and other important connections that are going to be necessary to complete your work effectively and stay connected with your teammates. Next thing you want to think about is like preparing yourself for work. So just like you do when you're going to leave the house for work, you want to get up every day, you want to shower, have breakfast, you want to treat working from home as closely in preparation than if you're working in any other work environment. So it's not a good idea to stay in your pajamas all day. That might be really comfy and cozy, right? But it might not provide the exact mindset that you will need in order to have a productive work day. Next thing is you want to set regular work hours, and you want to kind of stick to that schedule. It doesn't mean that you'll have to work the same hours every day, but what it does mean is that you want to stick to as clear a work schedule as possible so that not only the people that are around you in your home environment are really clear about when you're going to be working versus when you're going to be at home with home time, but your colleagues and your clients will be able to contact you and they will understand what those work hours are going to look like so that you can keep up that connectivity. I'll give you an example really quickly as well. So my work day, Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday look the same. I typically start work around 7:45, and I usually end my day about 5 o'clock. On Tuesday and Thursday, I have a different work hour. So I usually start my day around 9:30 and end almost at 7 o'clock. And I do that on Tuesdays and Thursdays because that, kind of makes space for my clients and client needs. And that's fine if you need to do that. I think what you don't want to do is start Monday at this time and Tuesday at that time and Wednesday at this time. Because not only are you not going to get yourself in a routine, but your clients and your customers won't know when to contact you as well. And those people that are going to be around you at home. You want to create a ritual that transitions your state of mind from at home time and work time, okay? Whether that is you have breakfast and then you actually go in your office and you sit and you think about what your day is going to look like for a few minutes, or set your intention, or look at your schedule and look at which meetings you're going to have and those kinds of things. Whatever that ritual is that works for you, what it should do is should clearly set aside a transition from home time to work time. For me, I take my dog out every morning about 20 minutes before I'm planning to start my day. And so not only does that signify a transition for me, but actually it even sets a transition for him. The next thing you want to do is you want to talk to the folks that are going to be in your space, whether that's your children or your significant others. You want to tell them what your workday is going to look like, let them know how long you're going to be on the call, for example, and ask them not to interrupt you. If necessary, you might want to put a note or a post-it on your door to let other people know when you're on a call and when you shouldn't be disturbed. If you're going to have some free time in your schedule as well, or some break times, let them know what those times are so then they can set up an expectation if they need to talk to you about something or if they want to spend a few minutes hanging out with you, what that time looks like, right? Particularly if you're going to have children in your home. Children are also like transitioning to this new kind of work environment. And so you want to be clear with your children that you're going to be working. You might say, Mom's going to be on the phone or Dad's going to be on the phone for an hour. And when I'm finished with my phone call, I'm going to come and check in with you for a few minutes. And then, as much as possible, be sure to stick with those agreements with the people in your environment so that they understand when they might be able to ask you questions and those things, okay? Next, you want to think about maintaining your calendar the same as you might for work. You want to be prepared for meetings by checking your connections, your Zoom or your FaceTime to make sure those things are working. I would recommend like 10 minutes or so before the meeting. Because what you don't want to do is like waste time trying to set up a connection and showing up late for a meeting. Because after all, you're still working. Next module is module 2, and that module really looks at working productively. And so I think it's like while you are working on your workday, you want to be as productive as possible. I talked in module 1 about taking time for breaks and checking in. But while you're at your desk and you're really working, you want to be as productive as possible, and you want to be accessible to people who need to contact you. So one thing that's going to keep you productive is to keep your desk and your general work area tidy. But what you don't want to do is get into one of those situations where you're fumbling around your desk, you're looking for paper. What did I do with that report? What did I do with that note? Where's my ink pen? Where's my stapler? And those things, okay? You want to have a routine, the same as when you're getting ready for the workday while you're on the workday. And the more tidy you keep your workspace and the more consistent you keep your workspace, the more productive your day is going to be. Second thing is you want to take breaks several times a day. Rule of thumb is to take at least a mid-morning break and a break in the afternoon. Be sure to take a lunch as well, and take that lunch away from the work area. You're going to need time to kind of recharge and get yourself back into whatever work product you were working on before the break. It's important to keep other parts of your routine as well, particularly in a highly stressful time like what we're going through right now. You want to do those things that put you in the best mental and mind space and create the best mental outlook for you so that you maintain your well-being while you are maintaining your clients and your colleagues and those relationships. And so things that might help you do that is minimizing television and other media that's going to be reporting on the pandemic, for example. If you have that in the background while you're working, you're going to be drawn to looking at that and not be productive. And then B, you're going to be distracted by the late breaking news and those things. I think you want to, have yourself clued in enough so that if there is late breaking news, you can react to it, prepare your family for it, and do what you need to do. But you don't want to be so saturated in it that it starts to distract your day. And speaking of distractions, you want to minimize distractions. That means internet shopping, doing household chores, social media, and all of those things. If you need to do household chores, and I tell you, I work at home most days of the week, even before the pandemic. So on a break, absolutely, I'll run in and throw in a load of laundry while I'm taking a nice stretch. And then on another break, taking that laundry and throwing it into the dryer, maybe folding it on my lunch hour. Those things are absolutely cool to do and workable and will give you a little bit of a break from the workday. What you don't want is that you're doing so much of that stuff that your work starts to slip and your colleagues can't contact you, because you really want to keep most of your day centered on work, the same that you would do if you were in the office. Next, you want to turn off the telephone when you need to so that you can work without distraction. Now, here's the thing. Some of us are able to do that, and some of us are not. You've got to be able to do what works for you, gives you the most opportunity to be productive, but also keep you plugged in to your colleagues and other people at work and your clients, right? So, again, you got to make that work for yourself, but to the degree that you can, turn off your IM or your email notifications or whatever, shut down the internet so that you can actually spend time like heads down and focused on something. You're going to find that you get more stuff done in a day. Another way you're going to find that you get more stuff done in a day is if you keep 3 lists of 3. Now, I have to tell you, this is one of those things that I really got acclimated with and started doing when I first started working at home almost 2 years ago. And I would do 3 lists. My first list was going to be my priorities for the day. I'm going to put down 3 what I call big ticket items. These are the things that I'm going to be focused on. They might be deadline driven. These are the things that I'm going to work on today and I'm going to get done. My second list is going to be 3 things that I like to get done but are not essential. Those things might be something that help me set up a deadline for the next day or get me prepared for an afternoon conference call and those kinds of things, right? Third list is going to be 3 things that I need to get done at some point. And those 3 things might be 3 things like okay, I know that I have to do my billings to my clients by the end of the week. So if I can start preparing that in some leisure or some downtime, it keeps me from having that kind of airspace where I'm not working on anything and I'm end up twiddling my thumbs, right? And it helps me set up and be proactive for work that might be on my second list or my priority list on another day. The next thing that I actually learned how to do when I first started working at home 2 years ago, and it's really been helpful for me, is I don't start working when it's a hard day. And I got to tell you, when the day gets tough, the easiest thing to do is to maybe crawl up on the couch and start watching a movie or binging something that you've been dying to watch, or maybe just taking off the day and saying, I'm going to, take off the afternoon. Now, there are days, particularly right now when we're so stressed out and there's so much going on in our world, that we might have to do, okay? But those should be rarities. That might be, okay, I finished everything on my 1, 2, and 3 list, and it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So guess what? I'm going to check in with my clients and my customers to make sure everybody's taken care of, and then I might give myself a couple hours off, right? But as a general rule, you want to keep plowing through, even when the day feels like it is not productive, if it's a hard day, and those kinds of things, right? You want to train yourself to do some work anyway. So if I have a day that is full of distractions, what I might do then is do something off of my list number 2 or my list number 3. Realizing that I'm making a bargain now, and I might have to then go back and pick up something from my list number 1 that the distractions of the day are just taking me away from. And as long as you figure that out and it works for you, it's awesome. I think the thing we just don't want to do is say, you know what, I'm going to throw in the towel. Because once you start doing that, you start doing that a lot. And then you're going to realize that you're going to have clients not answered and colleagues not answered, and you're not going to seem to get stuff done. Next thing you want to think about is module 3, and that is staying connected. It is more important than ever to stay connected to your colleagues and the people at work. You really want to set a reputation and a work style that people know that they can get a hold of you when they need to and when they need you for something. Just staying connected is like super important, okay? Again, I talked in module number 2 about not using instant message all the time. But again, this depends on what your work environment looks like. If you and your team are used to pinging each other back and forth every day on instant message to stay connected and answer quick questions, then do that, okay? If your colleagues are used to texting you, then be mindful and stay on top of your text. What I think is the most beneficial and what's going to help you out the most is not solely relying on an electronic solution for staying in touch. You want to use your phone because you want to have a personal contact, and you want to be able to hear the voice of and be able to answer questions like real time and in the moment for your colleagues and your teammates. And you might even want to use things like Zoom and Skype and those kinds of things to stay connected. Or if you have a face-to-face mechanism through your company, you just want to be mindful that you're going to have to juggle all of those things to make it work and be connected. Okay, I think you want to make quality time for your colleagues right now. Everybody is kind of dealing with like a new world order, so to speak, right? Where lots of us working at home when we've not worked at home before, having to work in partnership with colleagues on work that we could easily get up from one cubicle to the next and talk about and brainstorm and come up with solution around, right? We're going to have to be able to do the same thing in order to be effective while we're working at home. So you want to build in a little time for brainstorming and connecting and collaborating with your client, with your colleagues, because collaboration is going to be key right now, and it's really going to matter as far as staying connected and staying in touch. I think even in, with all the stress and all that, you want to build in that same amount of time that you used to have for like chit chat at the office, right? Don't want to spend too much time chit chatting, because obviously that's going to impact your productivity. But what you want to do is you want to have those same types of exchanges that are meaningful with your colleagues so that you can continue to have those really good relationships. And that might mean maybe a quick IM or a phone call in the morning with somebody that you are used to having a little bit of interaction with in the mornings. How was your evening? Is there anything that's coming down the pike that I ought to be aware of today? How's the day going to go? If it's somebody that you work really closely with and you partner with really closely all day, talk to that person about what are going to be the priorities of the day, especially if you all share priorities every day. If you don't and you work more independently, you still want to check in, because again, communication, and collaboration are going to be key right now. Now we're going to talk about clients for a minute, right? Clients have to be managed proactively right now. It is challenging. The same way it's going to be challenging for you and your colleagues, it's really going to be challenging for your clients. Many of your clients, just like you are working in a really different environment than they're used to. They're working in different ways than they're used to. They have, emergent issues that you, as a provider of service or the client manager, are going to be integral in solving, because everybody's managing emerging issues right now. Okay? What you want to do is stay connected with your clients so that you can be the solution. Clients are going to be depending on those people who provide services to them to be there so that they can ask questions, so that they can kind of brainstorm ideas. And because everybody's kind of working with something new and different right now, right? In a lot of ways, it is going to be essential that we stay innovative and find ways to get things done and drive solutions that are going to be a value add to your clients. When you are talking to your team, whether it's going to be a team meeting or if you're going to be, just answering a quick question, you want to be very present with your team. And that is going to be kind of essential then that you have a positive mindset and pleasant interaction, because you're going to need to do your part to help the team be positive through these really, really difficult times. So you are going to want to resist the urge. And I had to tell you, when I say resist the urge, it's an urge that we all have, right? So no blame, no shame, but you're going to want to step away from complaining about working at home, slow internet access, the news, politics right now, and all of those things, right? You want to, no matter what your role is in the organization, you want to lead by example of authenticity and positivity and perseverance that's going to be just necessary and essential to survive these unprecedented times. Again, don't forget the chit chat and the pleasantries. Just like you would if you were at the office, you want to ask folks about their day, their weekend, vacation, if there is any right now, right? And all those things that you do normally to stay plugged in. Another thing you really want to do, and this, right, is essential right now. This is essential. You want to stay connected with your manager. You want to understand what you can do to help. You want to continue one-on-ones. If you're not doing regular one-on-ones, this is the time to start doing that. You want to check in about the performance or about a project or about a result. You want to check in about your leadership, and you want to just make sure that you and the manager right now are lockstep, because managers need everybody on the team to be like, what, if you don't mind my sports analogy, suited up and ready for the game. And you want to be that way. You want to be helpful to the manager who is also working at a really different environment right now, right? And they might not want to sort of, ask hard questions or ask things about performance or ask things about a deadline. A manager right now might be a little hesitant to say, hey, it's Tuesday, how's Friday's deadline coming? So you want to be proactive about that and give updates, and you want to ask questions. Essential and staying connected right now, you want to say thank you a lot. And you want to be appreciative of people who are helping you figure out the work, whether it's your IT desk that's helping you with all the connections you need, or people who are giving you their time to get you updated on projects and other pieces of work, and really giving you their time and their energy. You want to make sure that people understand that you're grateful right now for all of that. Because one of the things that we're really going to have to do so that everybody stays in a great mindset and is positive and productive is be able to keep everybody on positivity. And one way to do that is to express gratitude. Thank you for pulling that report and sending it to me by email. I couldn't find that report, and it was really helpful for you to do that for me. Is an example of the kinds of things you want to do. And again, don't forget to support people who are helping to keep you running while you're at home doing the work that you need to be doing. Again, like, reach out beyond your team connections. Keep updated with your company's intranet so that you can understand what the company's position is. If things are changing, right now there's so many moving parts to a day's work, right? Companies are changing their start times, their meeting times, their position to their clients on a number of different topics. So you want to stay on the intranet at your company, your blog, your message board. If you're a realtor, the real estate commission. If you're a coach like I am, the coaching commission. You want to stay up on all of these things so that you can have the best information to give to your teammates, to your clients, to colleagues in your profession. It is the time that we've all got to help each other by being able to help with information, okay? So again, if you are a part of affinity groups, professional organizations, any of those things that help you do your work more effectively and productively, you want to do that. If that means attending meetings by Skype and all those things, because it's going to be really essential to be plugged in. And you're going to get invaluable ideas from staying plugged in. If you are working on something and it's really working for you, you want to post those ideas. And you want to post things that are becoming best practice for you so that other people can benefit from it, so that we can all survive this together, right? So if you're trying something or you hear about a good idea and you try to spread the good news, let people really understand that you're staying connected in many different ways. And again, I posted this again on this slide about saying thank you a lot, because you can't say thank you enough right now. Module 4 is about taking care of yourself. So, it is just a simple fact that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of the business. You can't take care of your colleagues. You can't take care of your coworkers. Can't take care of the company. And more importantly than any of that, you can't take care of the people in your life that you take care of, okay? So it's like the adage that you hear on an airplane when it says, if the cabin starts to lose oxygen, pull the face mask down first and put it on. This is what this is about, okay? So when you're taking care of yourself, it's like, have the things that are really going to help you be your most well and in your best frame of mind and your healthiest right now, okay? Those things start right at your desk. Have water at your desk all the time. I don't know if you can see this or not, but I have this big cup that I have at my desk all the time. Sometimes it has cold water in it, sometimes it has hot water in it, and it's right here where I can grab it and I can have a sip when I need to, and I can replenish it when I go out and have a break, so that I can stay hydrated, so that I can stay healthy and well, okay? Meal plan, so you'll have healthy choices ready when you take a break and when you take lunch. Heather's going to talk a lot more about this in her segment, but really, you want those things at your fingertip for mealtime and at snack time. Another thing is, be careful what music you listen to, what TV you look at, and all of those things that are going to be external influences on your mood. Nothing wrong with having music playing while you're working if that music is inspirational and is going to uplift you in some way, as well as the television that you're going to be consuming and all of that. Look at things on television that make you happy. Look at those things that make you laugh. Right now, I have to tell you, I'm watching like 70 sitcoms. I'm watching those things that I watched as a kid that really are nostalgic for me and make me really happy. And those kinds of things put me in the best frame of mind. So you got to figure out what that is for you, and you have to do that, okay? Another way to take care of yourself is like resist the urge to turn on the computer, to check a quick email, or to do one little thing before you got yourself ready for work. We talked about the transition earlier, but in module 1, but this is the thing that we do, right? We come down and we can't help ourselves. We jump on that computer because we think, I got one little thing that I have to do before the workday because I want to send this email off at 7 o'clock or etc., right? And then the next thing we know, we are showering at 2 p.m. in the afternoon, and we've got a splitting headache because we haven't eaten. So you want to be mindful of the things that you need to do so that you can keep yourself well and healthy. And that is going to look like sticking to a routine, like we talked about in module 1. The next thing you want to do is you want to clear the boundaries between work life and personal life. You want to make sure that you're not working so hard that you don't have a personal life anymore. The same way as you're going to get up at work and maybe walk around and see a friend for a minute and just say, hey, how are you? And like get energy from that. You want to do those things throughout the day so that you can keep your energy up and keep your mindset well, right? You also want to not work so hard that you find yourself in your office at 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. You want to know when to stop the workday. And you want to say, okay, I put in a good day. I think I've got some stuff off my list 1, 2, and 3 done. And now it is time for me to transition back from work to home. And you want to do that by shutting off your computer, if you can do that, right? I know that some people are in the 24-hour work cycle, right? And some of us have to do that. But if you don't have to do that, and if there's any way possible, you want to shut work down and you want to turn your personal life on, okay? The other thing you want to do is you don't want to go back to work once you finish, unless there's some type of an emergency or something that, the same way if you might have an emergency and have to go back to the office rarely or occasionally, right, to do some work, you want to do that in the same way when you're working at home. If you come up with a good idea at 7 or 8 o'clock at night after you're done working, just make a quick note of it. Take it to your office and pin it up for the next day. But don't go back to actually doing the work of either the research of that great idea and those things. Let those things work or wait, until the next day so that you can be ready and healthy and give it your best at the next day. That is the end of my presentation. And so now I am going to turn it over to Heather, who is going to talk to us about staying healthy and fit.
Okay, Charlotte, thank you so much. You have talked about things that I'm going to echo a lot, and I really appreciate you talking about putting your own oxygen mask on before helping other people, because you're going to need to be at your best so that you're going to be able to support the people around you at your work and be your best at home, because these are trying situations that we're in. So on that note, I'm going to talk about allostatic load, and this is just a fancy way of saying your total stress load from all sources. And when your capacity for stress is exceeded to your ability to cope and recover from that, things are going to start to break down. Sometimes that's emotionally and sometimes that's physically. So we're going to talk a little bit about things that you can control and things that you can't control, and that's the spheres of control. So things that you can control that are completely within your control, that's your actions, your mindset, and your immediate environment. Within this, you're going to want to reorder your priorities with your new environments, focusing on what matters most. And the next sphere of control is things that you can kind of influence, but really aren't completely in your control. Some of those might be, like I say, your environment, closing that door. Maybe you're not going to be able to make everyone be completely silent and leave you alone all the time. That's a little bit in your control, and you're going to do what you can. And then there are things that are completely outside of your control, and you just have to not worry about it and do what you can within your control to, just do what you can. We're all in this together, and we're trying to create a new normal. So when we're talking about our environment, this is about your workstation. So your workstation ergonomics and being comfortable, I have a slide to share about this. So this slide shows someone in their comfy office chair, but they are slouched over and they have you can see a distinctive forward head posture. This is going to cause a few problems. The first of which is that when you have that forward head posture, it's going to create muscle tension in the back of your neck. It can cause headaches and different kinds of muscle tension that can show up as backaches. Also, that rounded shoulder position is going to compress the area of your lungs to expand it. So when you have that forward shoulder head posture and rounded shoulders, and you're compressing the area that your lungs have to expand, that's going to cause you to take shallower and faster breaths. And through your vagus nerve, this information is conveyed to your stress centers in your brain, and it tells your brain that you're under some kind of stressful situation, which causes it to release cortisol. And when cortisol is released, that tells your body to put more blood sugar for that fight and flight response. But you're just sitting there doing your work. If you don't have muscle movement, that cortisol and the blood sugar, that's going to cause an insulin release. And if you don't have muscle movement during this time, that's just going to create like a big soupy mess in your bloodstream. And that can lead to long-term of this situation, can lead to medical conditions such as insulin resistance, which can lead to diabetes. Chronic stress that's not released can also have implications toward heart disease, mood issues. And so you want to make sure that you're giving yourself the best situation for not having this triggered by your workstation ergonomics. So the best way to set up your workstation is, if you have a sitting desk or a standing desk, is to make sure that your seat height is so that your knees can be a 90-degree angle with your feet flat on the floor. Your shoulders are stacked over your hips and your ears are stacked over your shoulders. You want your screen to be about 20 to 30 inches away from your face, and the top of your screen is at about eye level. If you can tilt your screen, have it just tilted a little bit back so you can just move your eyes instead of having to move your whole head to look around the screen. Another angle you want to make sure of is that when your shoulders are relaxed and stacked over your hips, that your elbows are at a 90-degree angle when your hands are on the keyboard. I want to talk to you a little bit more about reducing eye strain, and this is called the 20-20-20 rule. It's really easy to remember. About every 20 minutes, you want to look away from your screen and look at something that's at least 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds. So that might be looking out the window at a tree across the way. It might be looking across the room if you can see your cat sitting on the sofa, or really anything that's far enough away that it changes the distance focus of your eyes. Also, about every 20 minutes, maybe you took a moment to stand up to look far away. And this is a great opportunity to perform an anti-gravity posture break, which you can see in this graphic is really easy to do. You just bring your arms out to the side, press your chest forward and drop your head back, and take several deep breaths that make your belly expand rather than your shoulders rise. The way that this activates the parasympathetic nervous system to activate that rest and digest, though, is when you exhale, make it as slow as possible through your nose. This really only takes 30 seconds or so, and you can get in 2 or 3 nice slow breaths. And that rest and digest inhibits the chronic stress response, that fight and flight. Charlette was talking very saliently about taking breaks throughout the day. So maybe you have a morning break at some point, you leave your workstation for lunch, maybe you also have an afternoon break. So this is a great time that you might be able to indulge in a desk workout. So I'm going to stop sharing real quick. And I'm going to do a quick demonstration of several exercises. Let me see if I can get my camera to show you. I'm in my home studio, so I often give demonstrations of exercises. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, let's just say this is your chair. You don't even really have to go anywhere. To do a chair lunge, you just turn to the side so you're seated still on your chair and drop one leg down so that it's really straight. And you're going to start to feel a stretch in the front of your leg. Now, you don't have to be all the way on the ground. You can just be kind of hanging off. But the idea is once you're in this position, squeeze your glute. And that is going to create even more of a stretch. Hold this for about 30 seconds, and that releases some of your hip flexors that get kind of crunched up and shortened from being seated at your desk all day. Once you do one side, just flip around and do the other. So first you get in a position where you can feel the beginning of that stretch, and then squeeze the glute on that side, and that's going to make it stretch even more. The next exercise that I'm going to show you, and you can either do this standing or seated, it doesn't matter. You don't even have to leave your desk. This is called a posture angel. So you can use a band. I'm going to demonstrate with a band, but you don't have to. You just open up like into goalpost and pull your arms down into like a W shape. This is going to contract and strengthen some of your back, and it's going to open up your chest. If you do have bands, these are handy to have. You might have something like this in your house. It can be any kind of stretchy exercise band. I just happen to have a TheraBand. So you do the basic same thing. Hold them kind of close, and this gives a little bit of extra resistance. It also helps you because it's going to need to go behind your neck. Keep your shoulders and elbows back. So you can just do that a few times while you're taking slow breaths. Maybe you have a mini band. It's the same basic idea. Loop your thumbs through and just give yourself a little bit of movement. If you have a doorway, you may not have bands. Maybe you want to do the same kind of chest opening exercise in a doorway or a corner wall. Just put your arm up and kind of lean into the door. So it's going to give you a little bit of stretch, and do that on both sides. The next exercise that I'm going to show you, you do not even need to be away from your desk. This is called a neck retraction, and you're going to find that your posture slumps a little bit from time to time. Don't try to be ramrod straight all the time, but when you do find that your posture is a little bit forward, just roll your shoulders back And this is when you're doing your 20-minute breaks, this neck retraction helps to strengthen the back of the neck so that you're not always like in tech neck. So the way you do this is just pull your chin straight back like you're giving yourself a double chin. Now, fortunately, you're at home now, so no one's going to see you do this, but it's super attractive, let me assure you. So you just pull your neck back like that and put it forward and back and forward. If you want to make it like a 30-second exercise to do some strengthening rather than mobility, then you just hold it back there and just count to like 20 or 30. The final exercise that I want to show you, you can use a tennis ball, or maybe you have some kind of little nubbly ball of some kind. But this is really great, especially on your mouse hand, that you're going to give yourself a self-massage. I don't think I can actually show you my literal desktop, but imagine that this is your desk, and you just roll it around. A tennis ball is great because it's a little bit squishy, and you can get some real good pressure in there. Make sure that you roll it. This is the desk, right? Make sure that you're rolling it on your desk in between all of your fingers, because there's a lot of tendons here. We're always like crunching our phone. We're always crunching our mouse. You can even get it down into some of the ligaments in your wrist. So you're rolling it around like on the desk like this. And you do both hands and you feel a lot more refreshed. The next thing I want to talk about, I'm going to share this screen again. I want to talk about building awareness of touching your face. Now, we are in a pandemic situation and everyone's talking about washing their hands. And you might have heard a little bit about touching your face or avoiding touching your face. This is very, very, very difficult to do. Touching your face is a normal human behavior. There's a lot of nerve endings in and around your face and around your mouth and your nose and your eyes. However, the problem with this right now is most of the time you get an infection from yourself. The viruses and bacteria or whatever you have is transmitted from your hands through your mucous membranes. So some of these very normal behaviors might be inadvertently exposing you no matter how much you wash your hands. So try to avoid pinching the bridge of your nose or pressing on or rubbing your eyes to relieve eye strain. Avoid resting your head or your hand, your chin in your hand. You might want to consider using a straw so you don't try to wipe moisture away from the edges of your mouth after drinking. What are some other things that people do? Oh, pull your hair back from your face, especially if you're a woman. You don't want to be constantly like brushing hairs out of your face. If you do have an itch on your face, like it might drive you crazy. So a few ways to avoid touching your face and still trying to remain sane. You might touch another part of your body. This can create some of the same sensory reactions that release skin, like touch releases oxytocin, which helps you feel better. So there are biological reasons why like you're constantly touching your face and it's really hard to resist. But if you can start to notice triggers that cause you to do this and change the environment around them. So right now, actually, my hair is in my face and it's driving me crazy. So one thing that you can do is get some kind of object that you can sanitize later, like a pen, and brush it away. Like I have a face cloth that I change every day. Like these can be washed and sanitized. And I just, if my eyebrow is itching, right? You can have like a tissue at your desk. So if you normally would just go with your nose, now you can just with a tissue, and then the tissue can be thrown away. The face cloth can be sanitized. If you have like a chopstick or something, if you have an itch, you can have that and then wash it every day. This is going to help from transmitting anything that you've been touching into yourself. What else did I have to say? All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the way that I deal with stress is through food, mood, and movement. So we've talked about movement and the ergonomics. I want to talk a little bit about mood and mindset and how this work at home situation is, you know, some people might see it as a problem, but it also is an opportunity. And the mindset silver lining in this situation is a lot of people find that they had bad habits and they don't know how to break them, and they try really hard, but everything is the same and they just slip back into their old behaviors. The nice thing is, when during times of transition, if you have a change of environment or there's some kind of like trauma, like pandemic, habits are easier to mold and change during this time. So you might have the golden opportunity to set in place some new healthy habits that might have been really difficult before. You might have an opportunity to break some habits that were very difficult to break before. So that's just like a happy note about like something that might be a stressful situation. Now, we might have different kinds of environmental stresses related to working from home, and one of them is about food. Like the fridge is right there all the time. You might have stress or emotional eating. So this kind of like constant snacking, I've seen so many people, there's even memes about it right now, like, I've eaten 22 times and it's still today. I'm going to need to be, I'm gaining weight or whatever. I'm going to be on my 600-pound life. Do they need to contact me or do I need to call them? How does this work? You might have seen some of these lighthearted notes about this struggle that people are going through, is that eating is a big stress reliever, and it might not have the long-term consequences that you want. So first of all, I'm here to tell you that eating because you're stressed is a normal response. Emotional eating can be an effective way to cope with strong emotions, even if those long-term side effects might be undesirable for you. So not to mention, it's not even your fault that stress makes you hungry. High levels of cortisol are linked to increased appetite, and carbohydrate-rich and starchy foods help create serotonin, which helps you feel better. Also, fats, sugar, and salt stimulate dopamine production, which is the pleasure and reward neurotransmitter in your brain. So this makes a lot of sense about like why all your quarantine snacks are eaten immediately. So one thing that you can remember is you have a choice. You can choose to eat anything you want. And it doesn't make you a bad person. And gaining a little bit of weight, if that's what's happening, it's not the end of the world. Like, these are stressful times and it's not going to last forever. But you can start creating a new habit of eating everything slowly and mindfully and fully chewing it and enjoying each bite. And that's going to help you have a moderate amount. Another strategy that you can use is to plate the food or the snack instead of eating it from the package. If you want to take something and pre-portion it out into single servings and have those snacks ready for you, like in the refrigerator or whatever, so that you automatically, it makes it the easiest thing. Make what you want to do the easiest thing to do. So put the ones you want to eat in the front of the pantry or the front of the refrigerator, and the things that are more treat oriented, put them out of eyesight. This is like setting up your environment so that it makes it easier for you. Really, the problem is when food is your only coping mechanism that you really don't have an opportunity to make the choice. So a few things that are in your toolbox of non-food ways to cope with stress is that slow breathing practice. Maybe, like Charlette says, you want to have a glass of water. Oh, and my straw. Have a glass of water so that you can drink something and then like kind of delay having that snack. And sometimes that snacky feeling, that hunger, that emotional hunger, it'll dissipate after 5 or 10 minutes. Engaging in some gentle and lower intensity exercise, looking at something in nature, and this is something else that you can have on your desktop, is have a little plant or have some nature within eye shot of you, and that helps relax the nervous system as well. If you can, get outside a little bit. I know we're not supposed to be going places, but if you have a balcony, if you have a porch, if you have a back patio, try to go outside in the morning especially, but also maybe at your lunch, and get some sun in your eyes. First of all, this is going to perk you up. It's going to give you some more energy. It's going to help reset your circadian rhythm so that you're not all out of whack from never getting sun in your eyes, because some people are like staying up late watching the news or just movies or whatever, and then their sleep is disrupted because their what am I trying to say? Their routine is out of sync with their circadian rhythm. So speaking of the news, just like Charlotte said, try to limit your news consumption to the minimum amount that you need to feel informed. If you want to just not even watch the news, you can go straight to your state website and they update it, and you can get everything you need in 15 minutes. Updating once or at a most twice a day, you're going to know everything. In the general news cycle, they don't have anything else to talk about. They're going to continually regurgitate the same information, and it's meant to inflame your nervous system. It's meant to get you in that fight and flight and hyperreactive response. So just don't indulge in that, and it's going to help you feel a lot better. So we talked about going outside a little bit into the fresh air. I want to talk a little bit about the chewing slowly and eating things that are going to have help our gut microbiome, because that is at the center of our immune response. Eat a wide variety of plant foods, because that has the fiber that feeds the microbiome. And when we're talking about staying hydrated, this makes sure that your mucous membranes are well hydrated themselves, and they're not dried out and more susceptible and more permeable to any kind. It's meant to be a membrane barrier. So the more hydrated you are, the more resistant you are to becoming infected with anything. So I talked about doing gentle workouts. Again, your allostatic load, your total stress capacity, might be exceeded with all the additional stress, emotional distress. If you have an intense and long duration exercise, that can just push you over the top. Having emotional stress creates a physiological reaction of increased muscle tension. So this means that more strain is put on your tendons and ligaments that support your joints. And if you exercise intensely or for long duration, even if you normally exercise, this might be too much, and it could lead to injury. So be gentle with yourself. Take your normal exercise and maybe take it down a notch or two. Maybe it doesn't have to be as long. Maybe it doesn't have to be as heavy. Maybe it doesn't have to be intense. What might be helpful is to increase the frequency throughout the day, especially since you're sitting more. Also, be creative and make things fun. One easy thing to do is just bouncing. I'm actually going to go ahead and get up and demonstrate this technique. You can kind of see, but you just get on your toes and lift your heels a little bit and just let your whole body just kind of relax. This movement is going to move the lymph around, which is also part of your immune system. So these are super easy, gentle ways that anyone can do. And if you haven't ever exercised before, definitely don't go hard. Like, you want to start out super gentle with yourself. Then I want to talk about the importance of relaxation and recovery. So smiling, laughing, singing, these activities and the muscles that it takes to do these activities and the breathing patterns that are involved with laughing and singing stimulate that parasympathetic nervous system. That vagus nerve tone is increased. When you smile, the position of the muscles in your face turn and they change the position of a tiny bone in your ear, and that stimulates the vagus nerve. When you're laughing and singing, those type of activities create deep breaths with those long, slow exhales. So like when you're singing, you're holding a note. When you're laughing, like that exhale lasts a long time. And when you're in these kind of activities, your maybe with other people, and that creates activation of the mirror neurons, which creates a sense of social and safety. So when Charlette was talking about connecting with your coworkers and you're perhaps on Zoom, you're on some kind of teleconference, as much as possible, look directly into your camera lens or position your camera so that who you're looking at is right underneath the camera. So when you're looking at them, they feel like you're looking at them into their eyes. And this creates a sense of connection, which is so important to, we're on physical distancing. Like social isolation is very stressful to humans. We're a tribal and a community animal. And this has to do, again, with our nervous system so that we're in a sense of safety when we're in community. That's why, punishments like sending a kid to timeout is very stressful to them. That's why it's a punishment. Putting someone in solitary isolation if they're in prison is like double punishment because they're taken away from the group. When we feel distance from a group, like our primal brain is set off because there's no one to take care of us, if something happens. So that's why it's important to try to stay connected as much as possible. And that eye contact is an important part of that. So while we're separated from each other, do what you can to still maintain as much eye contact as possible through our telecommunications. I want to talk about the importance of sleep very quickly. Stress and sleep are closely linked, and stress can adversely affect sleep quality and duration, while insufficient sleep can increase those stress levels. And Charlette mentioned as well, you want to feed your spirit. So watch lighthearted TV, comedy movies that will help you laugh and avoid that excess news. That is just about all I have for you today. I really want to invite you to connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. You can get all that through my website and a lot of resources. That's at heatherlynndarby.com. But I'd specifically like to invite you to my free Facebook community where I share nutrition and fitness strategies. I host discussions and workshops and fun challenges to keep stress in check and excellent health at top of mind. So the link to that group is xlnt.link/group. That's xlnt.link/group. And if your organization is considering adapting your corporate wellness benefits to these work from home conditions, please feel free to reach out to me and we can put together a package to support your staff in mitigating stress and staying in excellent health. And you can schedule that consultation directly on my website, again, at heatherlynndarby.com. So thank you, Charlette. I really appreciate this opportunity to share and support the people that are in both of our communities while we're working from home.
Thank you, Heather. And I want to thank everyone who is listening to this. I want to encourage you to have others listen to this particular information or other information. What's important is that people get information so that they can stay well and productive through this crisis. If you'd like to contact me, you can contact me at charlettekwilliams@gmail.com. Thank you so very much. Be well.